Assalamu alaikum students. I am your teacher Saima Aleem. Today we are going to discuss topic bond energy. As you know, we have discussed about the dipole movement, which is related with the polar covalent bond, and bond energy is also related with covalent bonding, right? If there is a covalent bond is formed between two atoms, the amount of energy will be released. And at the same time, if we are going to break the covalent bond between two atoms, then we need some amount of energy. That amount of energy which is required to break the bond is known as bond energy. We can discuss the bond energy in two terms. Like first we will discuss that the energy required to break 1 mole of a bond between two atoms in diatomic molecule. For example, we can take the example of hydrogen gas. Here we are having a molecule of hydrogen gas, and we are going to break it, and to break it into a free atoms we need the amount of energy which is 435 kilojoule per mole. This is the amount of energy which we require to break 1 mole of hydrogen gas in free form, in the form of atoms, right? As you know, the covalent bond is formed between two atoms by the sharing of electron. Hydrogen atom contains 1 electron in its valence shell. Another hydrogen atom, it also contains 1 electron in its valence shell. These two atoms share the electron to become stable, to attain the stability. Hydrogen atom do not follow the octet rule, it follows the duplet rule. Now here we are going to break this bond, and after breaking it we get free atoms of hydrogen. For this process, to break it, we need the amount of energy, and that energy is known as bond energy. This breakdown is a process which requires energy, as the positive charge the positive sign indicate it is a endothermic process. Endothermic process means we have to provide energy, right? This is an endothermic process. At the same time, you can take another example of a diatomic molecule, which is oxygen, which you are very much familiar with this molecule. Oxygen, it contains double bond. There is also a covalent bond, but here instead of single covalent bond, oxygen atoms share two pair of electrons. For example, you can see oxygen is a member of group 6. It contains 6 electrons in its valence shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at the same time, another oxygen atom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The number of electrons in valence shell is very much important for us, and we can easily find out the number of electrons in its valence shell by looking at the periodic table. The group number indicates the number of electrons in its valence shell. So the group of oxygen is group 6. So oxygen share two electron pair with another oxygen atom, and it forms double covalent bond. A double covalent bond, here we are going to break this double covalent bond, and we will get the two atom of oxygen. For this process we need energy which is 498 kilojoule per mole. Kilojoule per mole, it's a unit of energy. 1 mole of oxygen bond, we are going to break 1 mole of oxygen bond, and 1 mole of any substance contain how many bonds are present in 1 mole? It is 6.02 10 raised to power 23 bonds. We are going to break 6.02 10 raised to power 23 bonds, because we are talking about 1 mole, right? So in this process, you by the help of these two examples, you can easily understand that whenever we are going to break the bond, we required energy, and it is an endothermic process. At the same time, we can define the bond energy in terms of formation of bond. energy released to form a bond from two free atoms in its gaseous state. For example, we can take these two example in the reverse position. Here we are having a free atoms and we are going to join them to form a single covalent bond. So similarly, there will be amount of energy which will be released. We don't need energy to form the bond. Here is the negative sign indicate this process. When there is a bond formation occur, this process is exothermic. So we don't have to provide any kind of energy. It's a exothermic process. Amount of energy, the similar amount of energy will be released which was required to break the bond, minus 435 kilojoule per mole. We can write the unit of bond energy kilojoule per mole, as well as we can write kilojoule and mole inverse. You can use any of these two ways to write the unit of bond energy. And at the same time, here we are having the same example, but here in the reverse situation, two free oxygen atom combine to give you a molecule of oxygen, and the amount of energy which is released is minus 498 kilojoule per mole. This is the same amount of energy which was required in the above example when we were breaking the bond. The amount remains same, but the sign is different. In the breaking, we need positive sign, endothermic process, and here for the formation of bond, the sign is negative and the process is exothermic. Right? Now it is clear that the bond energy is the amount of energy which is required or which could be released. It could be endothermic and it could be exothermic. Whenever we are going to break 1 mole of a bond between two atoms, or when we are going to form a 1 mole of bond between two atoms, formation of bond or breakage of bond. Now here what we have to discuss here, we have to discuss the factors affecting the bond energy. There are so many factors which will affect the bond energy. The one factor, as we discussed in the dipole moment, bond energy of polar covalent compound is greater than the non-polar covalent compound. Means if we are having two different molecules, one is polar, another one is non-polar. Like you can take the example of chlorine. Here we are having the example of chlorine. You can see chlorine and chlorine. It's a simple non-polar molecule and there is no partial positive and negative character. So it's a non-polar covalent molecule. We are going to break it and we will need the amount of energy 244 kilojoule per mole. This is simple non-polar molecule. And now here comes another example, HCl. As you can see, there is a difference in the electronegativity. The one chlorine atom become partially negatively charged and hydrogen become partially positively charged. So what will happen? There is an ionic character is developed and this covalent bond is a polar covalent bond. This one is a polar covalent bond. Now you can see when we are having a polar covalent bond and we are going to break it, we need the energy 431 kilojoule per mole. The bond energy of a polar molecule is higher than the bond energy of non-polar molecule. Right? So if there is an ionic character is present in the covalent bond, so there will be a higher bond energy. Bond energy of a polar covalent compound, I can just give you a bond energy of polar covalent compound or a covalent bond is higher than non-polar. Right? This is the first point you must understand. In a covalent bonding, if the bond is non-polar, the bond energy will be less. If the bond is polar, the bond energy will be higher. Now come to the next factor which also affect the bond energy. Here you can see we are having the example of polar molecules. We can compare the bond energies of the polar molecule, as we have compare it with the non-polar. As compared to non-polar, polar have a higher bond energy. Now the next point is the ionic character. Now we have to see which one has the higher ionic character. HF, it's a dipole molecule and it has a partial positive and negative charge. Here again we are having a partial positive and negative charge. And this one, HBr, again we are having the partial positive and negative character, because these are all polar molecules, right? Now you can see what's happening here. We are going to compare the bond energy, kilojoule per mole. It's 465 of HF and 565 of HF, 431 of HCl and 364 for HBr and 299 for HI. What is happening here? The bond energy is continuously decreasing. You can see the bond energy is decreasing when we are moving from HF to HI. Now you can see it is decreasing. Now this arrow indicates decrease in the bond energy. And what is happening here? When we are going from this side, ionic character increases. From HF, HCl, HBr, HI, what is happening here? The ionic character decreases. As we go from HF to HI, the ionic character decreases and the bond energy also decreases. So what's happening here? We can conclude it. Ionic character increases. When the ionic character increases, then what happens? The bond energy also increase. Ionic character increase, bond energy increase, right? So if all the molecules are polar, so we have to check which one is more polar, which has the higher ionic character. It will have the higher bond energy, right? Now comes the last point. Bond energy is inversely proportional to bond length, right? Bond energy is inversely proportional to bond length. As you can see, I can give you the three example. Carbon single bond, and at the same time carbon double bond, carbon triple bond, right? So in these cases you can see a single covalent bond has a bond length 1.54 angstrom. Angstrom is the unit which is used to measure the bond length, and 1 angstrom is equal to 10 raised to power minus 10 meter, right? So we are using this unit to measure the bond length. Single covalent bond, double covalent bond and triple covalent bond, and there is no ionic character and the bond is completely non-polar, you can see, and there is a decrease in the bond length when the single covalent bond is longer as compared to the double and triple. And at the same time you can compare the energy. If the length is higher or greater, then the energy will be lower. Shorter the bond length is shorter, then you can see there is a shorter the bond length, the energy will be higher, right? जितनी ज़्यादा बॉन्ड लेंथ कम होगी, एनर्जी जो है वो उतनी ही ज़्यादा होगी. नाउ द लास्ट वन, बॉन्ड एनर्जी हेल्प अस to find out the chemical reactivity. This is the conclusion of this lecture, that the bond energy help us to find out the it depends upon the polarity, and a non-polar molecule has less bond energy, polar molecule have higher bond energy. If the ionic character is greater, the bond energy will be higher. If the ionic character is lesser, then the bond energy will be less. And if the bond length is shorter, the bond energy will be higher. Shorter the bond length, here you can see, you can remember this one. This point is also very much important for us. Bond energy is inversely proportional to bond length. It is inversely proportional to bond length. So this is the today's lecture, and we will discuss we will discuss the next topic in the next lecture. Okay, thank you, student.